Good afternoon. On behalf of Federation of Information Technology Industry Sri Lanka, FITIS, I welcome you all for this webinar. Unlock the full potential of cloud and AI with IBM and Red Hat. Today's topic, you can see four key components or four key words. The first one is cloud. I'm sure you will be able to listen a lot from our experts today what the cloud is and private public clouds, and I'm sure they will recommend for you to consider hybrid cloud. And the next point is AI. In Industry 4.0, with all these buzzwords, why only AI? I'm sure you will be able to listen to more about the details. I'm sure the lot of things will cover and we'll have a little bit of emphasis on AI. The next one, IBM, International Business Machines Corporation, founded in 1911. And why Red Hat? Red Hat became a subsidiary of IBM on July 9th, 2019. Disruptions are redefining business as usual. Increase in demand for digital transformation from both consumers and employees are increasing. Today, cloud is an essential part of the digital transformation. It is driving leaders to improve business agility and manage long-term strategy. When you adopt a holistic, hybrid, multi-cloud architecture, you can more easily build and modernize applications and make your data ready for artificial intelligence across your entire company. Keeping this in mind, we at FITIS has organized this webinar in association with IBM. And let me welcome you all for this webinar once again. I am very pleased to have two eminent speakers from IBM India today to speak to you on this topic and to take you through a live demo. Our keynote speaker today, Mr. Aju Sebastian, IBM Cloud Platform Executive, IBM Cloud, India, South Asia. Bibhuti Rath will take you through live demo. He is Technical Architect, IBM. I would like to thank them for their time on this session. Before I hand over to the speaker, let me also say a few words about FITIS for the benefit of those who do not know the FITIS. FITIS is the apex body of the ICT industry in Sri Lanka. Under FITIS, we have every segment in the ICT industry as chapters, namely hardware chapter, software chapter, education and training chapter, communication chapter, digital services chapter, office automation chapter, and professional chapter. Therefore, FITIS is well equipped with all the essential segments in the ICT industry. And you may contact us if you need any support for your digital transformation. And also, if you are a part of the ICT industry, please join us to help the country. I would also like to thank our sponsors. Our event partner today, Redington, IBM, our corporate partners, Lankabel, LK Domain Registry, Luna Labs, Oral IT, Sarva Colombo, Zillion, ADL, SLTC, and Just in Time. And our message partner, TechSphere, and platform partner /Tech. Our media partner, Daily FT, supporting partners, SIMA, ACCA, CSSL, and ISACA. Over to you, Aju.
Thank you, Dr. Prasad. Happy to be on this platform. Happy to collaborate with FITIS for this session not in Sri Lanka, but for the Sri Lankan clients. And I also thank the partners that make this session possible, that helps us put our point of view on technology as we see it for the clients consume and collaborate and transform as they go forward. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm going to take the initial keynote for this session. We'll try and keep it to about 30 odd minutes and then hand it over to my colleague Vibhuti Rath, who's going to take you through a live demo of the IBM Cloud platform and what the flexibility that we built into it and what you can do for your organizations with IBM Cloud, right? And then we will round it off with a series of questions that you may have and you may want to ask, as an output of what we are going to share. So without much further ado, let me just try and share my presentation. What I'd like to do today is to try and take you through what we call as a hybrid open cloud, an open hybrid cloud world, right? So, and many of you would have read about it or heard the recent news about IBM doubling down on our strategy on open hybrid cloud and AI, right? And that's the area of focus, because we believe that's where we can make most difference in terms of helping our clients transform and get onto the next level of innovation in their particular industries. And we've experienced this amongst multiple clients, multiple industries, that cloud does accelerate digital transformation. It does bring technology that is inaccessible to a large part of enterprise clients right into their fold, using cloud in various forms or fashion, right? They use cloud to innovate on technology, to access newer data sources, to deliver to newer types of clients, run workloads at optimized destinations, and also to leverage the SaaS products that are available on cloud as we go forward, right? So cloud does accelerate digital transformation. Now, when cloud does that, what do we mean by hybrid cloud, and why do we see a relevance for hybrid cloud, and why is it that IBM is again and again doubling down on the hybrid cloud strategy? What does it mean for our clients, right? As we see the market today, this is the practical reality that we see in the market, right? About 94% of the enterprises today in the global industry are using a mix of clouds, right? And these mix of clouds are not necessarily public clouds. This mix of cloud is the ability to utilize a private cloud which is hosted by themselves or on a hosted service provider, their own data centers, and public cloud, right? So there is a mix of delivery centers that enterprises are using to deliver an outcome for their end customers. We also see that about 67% of the enterprises are using more than one cloud provider, right? Now another fact that we see in the market is, at the maximum penetration that in the enterprise world that cloud has had till now is about 20 to 25%. So what happens to the next 70-80%? That's the potential, that enterprises are missing on by not, going on the cloud journey, right? And because of all these moving parts, there are a lot of challenges that enterprise face when they are on this cloud adoption journey, right? Challenges around movements between different clouds. How do you migrate from an on-prem environment to a public cloud environment, both using different standards of deployment, right? How do you ensure proper connectivity between multiple clouds, and not only multiple clouds, between multiple delivery centers that enterprises are using? I mean, these are real concerns, right? Now, if you are managing a large enterprise, you would also realize that there is a lot of benefit that is derived from consistency of management across your various delivery centers, and that is why most of you or some of you would have one managed services provider that spans giving you service across multiple delivery centers. The reason you do that is because you are able to optimize, you are able to consolidate all innovation into a single track because the platform is consistent. When you are looking at a multi-cloud world, that may not be the reality, right? That becomes a challenge for a lot of enterprises, right? And that is why focusing on hybrid and multi-cloud is of utmost importance in today's world, and this is why we are doubling down our strategy on multiple multi-cloud and hybrid cloud. Uh, and true to this fact, we see that whether people acknowledge it or not, there are several use cases of hybrid cloud that are already in the works, right? Customers are using several types of multi-cloud and hybrid cloud situations even today, right? Simple things like using public clouds to scale their on-prem environment for organizations that have peak demands in certain periods, for example festivals and stuff like that. They use public cloud to extend their current capacity to accommodate those peak demands, right, which is called cloud scaling. There are several organizations that use public cloud as a disaster recovery center, which means that they have a hosted or an on-premise data center, and they will have a DR on a public cloud, right? Which again is a hybrid kind of a situation. SaaS adoption is increasingly, becoming common in a lot of large enterprises, right? One of the biggest SaaS companies, Salesforce, is having a lot of success, embedding themselves into a lot of enterprises. And similar to Salesforce, there are other SaaS providers that are, getting a lot of entry into enterprises, right? Which again is a hybrid situation, right? And obviously, a lot of customers are leveraging public cloud to develop front-end applications. Most commonly, if you see banks trying to have mobile applications to transact with their customers, right? So what they are doing is they are extending their legacy infrastructure, which is managed in an on-prem hosted environment, uh, and using public cloud as a platform to develop the front-end applications, right? These are some of the most common use cases that you see prevalent in today's enterprise market, right? Uh, Additionally, what we are also seeing, going forward is additional use cases around hybrid DevOps, right? Which is nothing but organizations using cloud as a platform to do development, application development, and then after that application is developed, that DevOps environment, a test and dev environment is maintained on a minimal basis, and the application gets deployed onto an on-prem kind of environment, right? We see composite multi-cloud entities wherein customers are using more than one cloud to deliver services. For example, a client may have a data lake on a public cloud. They will have plant applications if it's a manufacturing client, plant applications are hosted on an on-prem kind of an environment, and they may have a telematics data use case being hosted on another public cloud environment, composite multi-cloud kind of environment to deliver insights out of data. A lot of enterprises are also using cloud as a mode of optimization, right? Optimization not only in terms of cost, but optimization in terms of overall effort of delivering and bringing their own, expertise to their front-end end users, right? And obviously, and going forward, what we see becoming very, very prevalent and very relevant for a large number of clients is edge computing, because I'm sure you would also acknowledge the amount of data that is getting generated by various sensors and IoT equipment, be it home equipment or vehicles or medical equipment. The amount of data that is getting created at the edge is increasingly increasing, and also a lot of that data processing is trying to be done at the edge side, right? That is why edge computing is becoming very relevant, in terms of networks, in terms of latency, in terms of speed to market, etc. Right? And this is another use case that we see going forward becoming very, very relevant for a lot of the enterprises and industries, whether it's banks, whether it is telco, etc. Right? So these are the reasons why hybrid is of importance to the industry, right? And why hybrid will be relevant for a long time to come in the cloud transformation journey or enterprise transformation journey. And when we talk about hybrid, there are essentially two types of hybrid that's available for clients in the market. One is a hybrid monocloud, wherein you see a lot of hyperscale public cloud providers, extending their cloud capability into the client enterprise, right? So basically, you would have heard about Outpost from Amazon. Right? The principle behind it is that they take a piece of their cloud and they deliver it within your data center, right? And the management becomes same. It is completely like to like. You are able to access the cloud on your environment for workloads that cannot be moved on to a public cloud kind of an environment, right? But there are certain challenges with that because it works only with like to like. You need to have a similar kind of a setup on your on-prem, which is the Outpost and the public cloud. Right? Against this, there is another option that you have in terms of a hybrid multi-cloud environment. Right now, the difference here is that the platforms and the standards that are used to deploy a hybrid multi-cloud environment is open, right? In terms of standards, open in terms of open source, right? So you are not bound in by any proprietary, software or proprietary environments, and thereby, you are able to leverage a larger number of cloud vendors, a larger number of software solutions, a larger number of enterprise solutions to deliver your hybrid multi-cloud use cases, right? So this is in principle, the difference in terms of how public cloud will change going forward to adopt a more hybrid, a more open kind of a stand in enterprise transformation, right? And as I mentioned in the previous chart, right, it's about setting a platform wherein you will use that platform to modernize, right? And then you may want to choose to deploy it anywhere, right? You may want to choose to deploy on an on-prem environment, on a private cloud environment, on cloud vendor A, cloud vendor B, cloud vendor C. It should not matter, right? What should matter for the enterprise is to be able to deliver a service, a seamless service, irrespective of what platform that they are on, right? Irrespective of which cloud provider that they are on, right? What makes that possible? The few features that make it possible are, adoption of open standards. For example, open standards like containers or Kubernetes as a platform, right? Which you will find consistent, across multiple cloud providers, right? There will not be much of change if you develop platforms or applications on these open standards, right? You can move freely from cloud A to cloud B to cloud C. The other thing, that feature that you can leverage to create an open platform is obviously open source ecosystems. The more and more open source that you embed in your application landscape, the more guarantee you have in terms of innovation, because a large part of the development, development ecosystem is focused on, the open source innovation, right? That is where maximum amount of developers are spending time and maximum amount of ideas are getting generated, right? So adoption of open source also helps in terms of, having an open environment, and also accelerates your path to innovation. Obviously, when you do, all this on an open platform, what you have to be mindful of is about security, including, security about open access to data across multiple platforms. Your data may reside in any platform. It may be on-prem, it may be on another cloud, right? You should be able to securely move that data to your front-end applications, and via that deliver insights to your customers, right? And you use a lot of next generation technology, including artificial intelligence, to deliver those new insights to customers. That's what open hybrid cloud is all about. And these are some of the principles that we have based on our approach to cloud. Now, you will see IBM at the bottom there, but even if you remove IBM from here, this should be relevant for a lot of enterprises, right? While IBM adopts this as a principle, this is a principle for setting an open, secure platform, right? We believe that organizations, when they are setting their enterprise up for innovation, they should look at hybrid platform. They should look at multi-cloud platforms, because no one cloud provider can do justice to the various amount of use cases that exist, and you may choose on your part to innovation, right? So you should try and look at multi-cloud platforms. You should definitely put your bets on setting open standards, and using open source, which will help you avoid vendor locking, and help you build a larger amount of capabilities. Security is important. It is something which is fundamental to the enterprise. It's something that you should pay a lot of premium on. And last but not the least, you should be able to deliver a platform which offers consistent, service capabilities across multiple platforms. It should not matter whether you are on-prem. It should not matter whether you are in a private cloud which is hosted on some XYZ hosting service provider. It should not matter which public cloud that you're on. Your management capability should be consistent, so that you are not get bogged down. You do not get bogged down by running your day-to-day operations, but instead you are more focused on delivering, innovative outcomes for your organization and your end customers, right? So even if you take IBM out of the equation here, these are the 5 principles that you may want to adopt in your approach to transform your enterprise, right? We have this as fundamentals in our approach to setting up an open hybrid cloud, right? This is something that we encourage all our clients to do as well. And how have we done this? How have we embedded this into our overall architecture? We have gone and changed our public cloud product. IBM acquired a company called SoftLayer. I mean, if you would have heard of that organization, was one of the leading public cloud hyperscalers based out of the US. We acquired SoftLayer in 2015 to augment our public cloud capabilities. Right? Over the time, as we realized, how hybrid cloud is important and how being open is important, we have gone ahead and changed our public cloud platform radically, right? And to the effect that if I may stick my neck out and say, created a path for how public cloud hyperscalers can set up more open standard, open platform environments for customers to leverage next gen technologies. And we have and this is where Red Hat comes in, right, into the center of this strategy, right? Red Hat gives us the capability to set this platform on an open standard base. Obviously, coming from the open source community, a lot of inversion gets embedded as and when we move forward as well. So our entire architecture is based on Red Hat OpenShift, right, and Red Hat products. And on top of that, we have built capabilities for advanced technologies. You will also notice that the reason why we have Red Hat is also that it gives customer the flexibility to run infrastructure from anywhere, right? Whether it is IBM Public Cloud, whether it is Amazon, whether it's Azure, Google, your own cloud, Alibaba, I mean, anywhere, right? Because Red Hat is pretty much common in terms of their standards of deployment across all the infrastructure platforms. Gives customer the choice of choosing the infrastructure of their choice or the provider of their choice. Also gives them the capabilities to build on, and take on advantages of the next gen and the advanced technologies, right? What we've also done here is create, some containerized software or middleware that will help you in your journey to provide definitive outcomes for some of the very common use cases that we see in the enterprise, right? For example, if you note the gray layer here in the chart in front of you, talks about application, data use cases, integration, management, automation, security. Fundamental use cases that we are seeing in the enterprise, right? Now, what have we done with this, right? And you know, the reason, as I said, we adopted Red Hat is because they are the leader in terms of providing a foundation for open. It's the #1 used platform for development today, and a large part of enterprise clients, you know, use paid Red Hat Enterprise Linux as their operating system, right? Now, as I was speaking earlier, right, the layer of capabilities that we build for application automation, you know, data and integration, etc., is important because, you know, standalone, it would require a lot of development work by the enterprises to actually create those kind of capabilities, right? And that is where, you know, a lot of resources get, you know, diverted away from their prime objective of delivering insights to customers or delivering value or consistent experience to customers. They are more bothered on something which is internal, right, to the entire architecture, right? And that is why IBM, you know, came up with this strategy of developing cloud packs. Now, what are cloud packs? They are containerized software packages, right? They are pre-packaged and certified for containers, can be deployed across, you know, multiple platforms. They can be deployed on an on-prem environment. They can be deployed on a public cloud environment. They can be deployed on any public cloud environment, right? So it is about creating these platform and containerized software that customers can use to deliver, you know, specific use cases, right? Now, this you know is what I just explained, right? And they work on top of Red Hat OpenShift, which again is a container platform that you will find consistent across multiple cloud platforms and multiple sources of delivery, right? You know, AWS, Azure systems, your own, you know, data center, etc. I mean, it is the experience that you get is consistent across a wider range of delivery centers. So you are not bound to a particular platform, or bound to a particular environment, bound to a particular provider, right? So it gives you the flexibility to base your application on your choice of infrastructure or your choice of provider, right? What do these, you know, cloud packs, as we call them, do, right? I mean, for applications, you use cloud pack for applications to modernize applications, to build new applications, you know, native applications, etc., you know, based on enterprise Kubernetes, uh, which is you know, Red Hat. Cloud pack for data, which is used for, you know, delivering data use cases, as well as, you know, the other use cases around integration, automation, and multi-cloud management. Now, I'd like to pick up multi-cloud management specifically here because, you know, this is what we highlight in terms of delivering a consistent experience across, you know, multiple delivery platforms that you know, an enterprise may have. And you know, the beauty of this is that all these are, you know, pre-integrated on the IBM Cloud platform, right? And that's the additional advantage that you get by, you know, using IBM Cloud if you want with the cloud packs, because what we have done is that we have built in a lot of integration at the back end for cloud packs in our public cloud platform. It makes it easier for you to run them on the IBM public cloud, though they are, you know, they are consistent in terms of delivery capability across any cloud platform. In the IBM public cloud, we have built in, we have gone a step ahead and built in some additional features that will help you leverage these cloud packs more efficiently to deliver an end outcome, right? And they all run on the IBM Red Hat OpenShift service, right? That's available on the IBM public cloud. And you know, going forward and on, you know, some of the differentiations in the architecture that we have done on IBM Public Cloud and how we have sort of launched IBM Cloud 2.0 as we would like to call it, is that we have built it uh, on the strategy that we've had on keeping it open, keeping it secure, and keeping it enterprise grade, right? Open in terms of both standards as well as open source adoption. You will see on the platform that we have perhaps the largest ecosystem of open source available on any public cloud platform. All the services that are delivered on the IBM Public Cloud are delivered on a Kubernetes architecture, right? Gives you scalability and availability higher than any other platforms, right? Security, we've gone the extra mile in terms of establishing a lot of security features and functionalities on our public cloud. We've gone ahead and deployed some of the highest compliance for data encryption on our public cloud platform, right? If you see FIPS 142 level 4 is the highest compliance on data encryption that is available, right? In addition to that, what we've also done is that we have embedded certain security solutions in our managed environment. For example, if you are using a managed Kubernetes environment or a managed Red Hat OpenShift environment on IBM Public Cloud, there are small features like vulnerability assessment built into that platform, right? Which essentially means that if you're developing a code or an application and you're bringing a code onto the IBM Public Cloud, you will get for free a vulnerability assessment of that code, right? Which will enable you to find out if there are any loopholes in the code that is being deployed on that platform, and what are the rectification measures that you can take. Typically, you'll find this on other platforms as well, but it is a chargeable exercise, right? We understand that this is something that an enterprise will come to expect of when they go onto an enterprise cloud kind of a platform. That's why we've built in these services, and there are several other similar services that we have built in. For example, in the managed environment, both Kubernetes and OpenShift, we don't charge for master nodes, right? It is managed by IBM, and it is not charged to customers. Only the worker nodes gets charged to customers. So these enterprise features we have built in to the overall platform. Apart from the fact that we are able to deliver 5 different runtimes on our public cloud, whether it is containers, whether it is bare metals, virtual servers, Cloud Foundry, Open Paks kind of an environment, and functions which is a serverless infrastructure as a code kind of an environment. So 5 different runtimes. So we've kept it as open, as transparent, as resilient as possible for enterprises to come and utilize a public cloud environment. And to that fact, we've won some awards as well. What we've also done is to try and embed a lot of innovation on the public cloud platform, right? Amongst all of these innovation, the one that I'd like to really pick out is on the bottom right corner of the chart, which says the world's first financial services ready cloud. Now, this is where the public cloud industry is going to evolve into, right? In having industry-specific clouds, right? Financial services is perhaps the most regulated industry, across, irrespective of where they are based out. I mean, what part of the geography they are based out of, whether it is Sri Lanka, India, US, anywhere in the Middle East. I mean, financial services, the flavors may be different, but the regulations are pretty high and heavy across any part of the geography, right? So we've gone ahead and launched an industry-ready cloud. Now, what does that mean? What it essentially means that for the financial services industry that want to, adopt next-generation technology like AI, like blockchain, like machine learning, etc., they don't have to invest much on creating those environments on-prem. They can go onto an industry-ready cloud, which is launched by IBM. Right now, this is launched in the US. We'll be rolling out to other geographies as well, and be assured that that public cloud is meets the compliance requirements for all the the financial regulations and the regulatory requirements that are for that particular geography, right? How do we do that? Back in 2016, we acquired a company called Promontory Financial Group, right? They were one of the largest, one of the premium consultants in terms of risk management and regulatory and compliance requirements for a large number of financial companies, right? And we acquired them and use their services to set up an environment, that meets all these regulatory standards. And not only does the platform meet all these regulatory standards, the independent software vendors that deliver software solutions on these platforms, they also have to go through stringent compliance requirements to deliver their service of the platform. So if you are kind of procuring a co-banking containerized co-banking application of this financial services ready cloud, you can be rest assured that that application itself has gone through the compliance and meets the compliance of the regulatory environment, right? And this takes a big headache off the banking institutions, because compliance is perhaps one of the most focused areas and the most invested areas for a lot of banks, as we need. We are going to evolve this into other industries as well. There are certain other use cases that we are that's there on our roadmap. Certainly, industries like telco, healthcare, etc. Are something where we are wanting to go with industry-specific clouds as well, right? As on date, we have about 200 plus services that we deliver on the IBM Public Cloud, and this is available today, right? Right from simple infrastructure as a service requirements like compute, bare metal servers, which are individual servers that you can avail of on a public cloud. Now, this is a very unique offering that IBM has, right? For customers that are looking for performance, that are looking for a highly secure environments, not looking for a shared resource. These bare metal servers, we give you serial number traceability of these servers. That's how isolated this environment is on a public cloud landscape. I mean, from services like that to developer services, a whole lot of databases, including open source databases, and the next gen technology around artificial intelligence. Watson is heavily embedded as a portfolio on the IBM Public Cloud. You can use a lot of these services as part of our light tier. My colleague Vibhuti will share you how to do that. There are about, I think, 200 odd services that are part of what we call as a light tier, which means that for going a touch and feel, a look and feel kind of a thing, you don't have to pay to do that. I mean, there is a limit to which you can explore for free on the IBM Public Cloud. I'm sure Vibhuti will share that as we go forward, right? Now, how have we made this real for some of our customers? I'd like to take you through a small video on a use case that we work with one of the largest airlines in the world, right? And probably give you a sense on how we make all of this real for our end customers. What does it mean in actual practical reality for some of our clients? Before I hand it over to Vibhuti.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome aboard. Captain speaking. Pretty much anticipating on-time arrival.
In a scenario where there's a flight cancellation or some other off-schedule operation, we've had a system where we find new seats and flights availability for those customers. But I think oftentimes customers didn't necessarily know that that was the best option for them. What we wanted to do was create a system where they could actually see alternate options.
The goal was to facilitate a better experience for our customers on how to get to their destination in an automated fashion on the channel of their choice.
So we partnered with IBM, and specifically IBM Cloud Platform, to adopt their garage method, pair programming, test-driven development.
The original timeline was actually over a year. So American approached IBM and asked us if there was any way we could help them shorten that timeline.
From the time that we started development on dynamic rebooking until the time that we actually had customers using it was about 4.5 months.
We were kind of cautious to release this product. We rolled it out to a limited number of stations across all the channels, and it really went flawlessly.
We are now crossing into a zone of turbulence. Please keep your seatbelts fastened.
In our business, hurricanes, storms, other natural events impact our customers on a fairly regular basis. What happened, and this is a true story, the hurricanes hit, and everybody said, this is ridiculous. Our customers were being impacted by the hurricanes immediately. Why are we mitigating risk of a traditional rollout when we have the power of the cloud. And this is exactly the scenario that our customers need this capability.
We made the decision as a team that the tool needed to be turned on, and especially in the hardest hit areas. So we did.
Having the confidence to just flip the switch really came out of the whole project from the beginning. This was a unique opportunity for us really to embed the business side right in with the technology team.
Flight attendants, please prepare for landing.
One of our expectations when we were moving to the IBM Cloud was the scale and the hyperscale of cloud should relieve our normal concerns around infrastructure when we roll out an application globally. So when the hurricanes hit, we put that to a test and our confidence was there and the application worked flawlessly.
I think people now realize that these kind of activities and integration are much easier when we can use cloud technology, and especially microservices. We can break problems into much smaller problems, and those get much easier to wrap your head around and develop.
This is the technology that we need to be adopting now in order to keep pace with our customer expectations.
Yeah, so thanks for your attention, right? And you know, I wanted to share that small video to show, you know, how we make this a reality for clients. Right now, this is a perfect use case of how a large enterprise can extend some of their legacy and use public cloud to, you know, use the legacy data that they have and legacy applications that they have to deliver newer services to their end customers. They had a, you know, a completely set system, you know, delivering you know, consistent services across you know, multiple you know, stations, right? And then they wanted to provide this additional services, so they developed a microservices based front end application on booking, and they integrated that with, you know, something that's already available in their own data centers, right? So they sort of extended legacy, you know, using APIs, and developed an application on the public cloud and delivered a superior client experience for their end customers and leveraged public cloud. So it's a perfect example that can be replicated across multiple industries. While this was airline, but similar use cases exist across multiple industries as well. So without much ado, I'd like to hand it over to my colleague Vibhuti Rath, who's our technical leader for IBM Cloud Platform, to take you through the IBM Cloud Platform and, you know, what you can do with it for your innovation journey. I'll be sticking around for questions at the end, right? We'll be happy to take them and interact as well. Over to you, Vibhuti.
Thanks, Aju. So I'll quickly share my desktop. Let me know once you're able to see this. So what you're looking at is the IBM Cloud Catalog. So it's a free site. Go to cloud.ibm.com/catalog. And what you're going to talk about is, what I'm going to show you is what Aju spoke about. Aju spoke about a lot of things in those 45 minutes. He spoke about Cloud Pak for data. He spoke about IBM Cloud. He spoke about Kubernetes, how it helps. In fact, we saw in the video how American Airlines adopted Kubernetes, and American Airlines is not just one. There are few other large airlines who have adopted Kubernetes on IBM Cloud, including Etihad and Lufthansa, to name a few. And why it is popular among airlines, and you also spoke about financial services, why it is IBM Cloud is becoming more and more relevant and popular among financial services and these mission critical workload based companies. So companies who run airlines, companies who run banking, companies who run your financial transactions, why IBM Cloud is more relevant to them and why they're finding relevance in IBM Cloud. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to show you those technologies and how easy it is to provision, how easy it is to onboard them for your business. Now to start with, let me give you a quick walk around of IBM Cloud Catalog. It's a free site, as I mentioned, cloud.ibm.com/catalog. You don't need any login. You don't need to register for anything to view the services. Of course, when you consume services, you'll be able to, you need to subscribe to it. And there are some tiers which are free tiers that you can use without even paying for it. Now let's start with the services that we offer. So if you look at the services that we have, we offer around close to 200 odd services on consumption basis, on subscription basis from this catalog portal that we have. And we have bucketed them into multiple categories. You can filter them using compute or containers or networking, storage, depending on your requirement. Let's quickly give you a background of compute. Let's talk about virtual servers. When you talk about virtual servers, we provide virtual server in 3 different flavors, not just 1, 2, 3 different flavors that we provide. One is in VPC, which is an hourly and monthly based virtual server that they can take on a VPC network. The second one being a power virtual server. So IBM has a popular platform, a very effective platform in terms of hardware. It's called power servers. It comes with AIX and I operating system. What we did is we were able to put those VMs onto public cloud and give them to our customers on hourly and monthly basis. So you can select a power virtual server with AIX or I as an OS. Similarly, we also have traditional virtual servers, which are simply plain vanilla Linux and Windows virtual server that you can use on monthly and hourly basis. And another key USP that IBM has is bare metal server. From day one, when we started our cloud services, Aju spoke about an acquisition of software. And since the acquisition from day one itself, we're providing bare metal server on monthly and hourly basis. What you can do is you can take a bare metal server, choose a configuration, which is a very important thing that customers find relevance is the number of configuration that we offer. If you look at a bare metal server, not just providing 1 or 2 bare metal servers, we are providing 100 different combinations of bare metal to choose from. You can choose between a single, dual, quad core processors. You can choose between a dual core processor that starts from a 16 core or a single core processor that starts from 4 core and go up to a quad core processor which can span up to 96 cores. So you can see the kind of range, the kind of cores that we can provide, not just 1 or 2, we can provide you different combinations. Similarly, if you select, say for example, I select 20 core bare metal server here, which is a Cascade Lake, which is the current generation. We also provide Skylake. So if you select 4110, it's one generation old from Intel. Now you can also choose to define a memory. So you can start from 32 GB memory, you can go up to 1.5 TB of memory for that particular server. And you can also choose an operating system. You can also choose a hypervisor for it. You can choose a VMware based hypervisor to be deployed on top of it, or you can also choose to deploy a Microsoft Hyper-V hypervisor to be deployed on top of it. Now, apart from that, you can also choose between different flavors of Linux. You can choose Red Hat or Ubuntu or CentOS. And then again, you can choose what kind of storage you would need, what kind of availability for that storage you would need. You can choose between SATA, SAS or SSD, and you can choose a network configuration starting from 100, you can go to 10 gig, and then provision that server. So it's pretty easy to provision a bare metal server, which traditionally, if you look at on-prem data center or even a hosting data center, it takes months to get a server. If not months, you get in days at best. But here you're getting a bare metal server within not just months, days, within hours. Within a few hours, couple of hours, you'll have a bare metal server ready and available to you. Now, similarly, since we provide bare metal server, we are able to provide hypervisor on top of it. And when you talk about hypervisor, the market leader in hypervisor is VMware. And we have a huge partnership with VMware that started 4-5 years back, and where we are able to provide VMware-based software-defined data center on top of a public cloud, which means you can build a data center of your own by renting servers on monthly basis from IBM Cloud. And we not just provide you that, we have also automated the deployment task. For example, if you want to deploy a vSphere server on top of a bare metal server, we have automated that. Let's say I go for a VMware solution dedicated, which is a cluster of bare metal servers dedicated for you, and you can deploy VMware software defined data center on top of it. When I say, so you can choose a vSphere version that you want to deploy on top of it, and NSX, and the version of NSX, you can also choose to bring your own license or get the license from IBM Cloud itself, and choose a version of NSX, choose data center where you want this to be deployed. Let's say for this demo, it's select Chennai or Singapore, and then you choose what configuration you want to choose from for those servers. Let's say go with a minimum configuration, 16 core and 64 GB, and 3 number of bare metal server for the cluster, and then deploy that. And I can also configure my storage the way I want. I can choose between vSAN and NFS and define how much storage I would need, how many number of shares I would need. I can go up to 100. You can see, say I would need 10 shares of 5 TB each, and I can define an IOPS that I want. Let's say I go with 2 IOPS per GB. Now, similarly, you spoke about containers. If you look at containers, go back to catalog and filter containers, you can see we provide 2 different container platforms. One is Kubernetes, which is open source based, and the other one is Red Hat OpenShift. So Red Hat is, of course, our flagship container platform that we offer, and we also provide a lot of options in terms of open source model as well. That's why you will see there is a Kubernetes service as well. Now let's select one of these, and let's try to provision a cluster and figure out how easy it is to provision a Kubernetes cluster or a Red Hat OpenShift cluster within minutes. Let's say I select Kubernetes here, or let's say I select Red Hat OpenShift here, and I want to decide where I want to deploy this classic infrastructure or a VPC infrastructure. Now, once I select, let's say I will go with default classic infrastructure, I would select a data center. I can select a data center in any of the region. Let's say I go to Asia Pacific, and if it is a single zone, I would select Chennai, or if I want to deploy it in a multi-zone, which gives me a better availability, I can select Sydney or Tokyo. Let's say I'll go with a single zone and Singapore location. Then what will be the worker node? So if you look at the way Kubernetes work is, it has master node that controls the worker node. And as Aju mentioned, the master nodes are managed by IBM, and customer doesn't have to pay for it. Customer only pays for the worker node that they use for, instead of paying for the entire cluster infrastructure of Kubernetes. So here you can see, you can decide number of worker nodes. I can say I would need by default 3. If I'm not running a production workload, I can reduce that from 3. Let's say I'll go with 3 and I want to change the flavor. By default, it is 4 core 16 GB because that is the minimum compute that you would need for a worker node, but I can increase that and go up to 8 core or 16 core, 64 GB or 16 core 32 GB. Let's say I go with the default one, and I can select whether I want to encrypt the disk or not. This is quite critical if you are doing a regulated workload. You want to encrypt your data, I can encrypt the data. But in cases where you're running test and dev, or maybe you're doing just simple some playing across, you may choose to disable that as well. And the moment I select create, it creates that cluster for me. So within minutes, my cluster will be available for use. Now, similarly, when you talk about cloud, there are a whole lot of other services available apart from the compute, storage, the basic bread and butter services. You also have a huge IBM services that we make it available. For example, Aju spoke about Cloud Pak for data. When we talk about Cloud Pak for data, the moment you have licenses, we take care of your deployment, which means you can go to software, you can select, let's say, Cloud Pak for applications or Cloud Pak for data, and select a Red Hat OpenShift cluster and deploy this Cloud Pak on top of it. So here you see I have a trial license available with me. I can assign that license and select a target, which is by default a Red Hat OpenShift, because Cloud Pak is designed to run only on Red Hat OpenShift container platform. And then which version I want to select. Currently 3.0.1 is available. And then I can create a cluster. If I have a cluster, it will automatically detect my cluster, but I don't have an OpenShift cluster. That's why it's saying create a cluster. And I can, once I create the cluster, it will show up here, and then I can deploy my Cloud Pak for data on top of it, which means the entire Cloud Pak for data software suite will get deployed automatically within minutes, and it is available for me to use. If you look at a scenario where you have to deploy the software on your own, you have to set up servers, you have to set up Red Hat OpenShift clusters, then you have to deploy Cloud Pak, and that's a lot of skill that you would need, a lot of people that you would need, and it takes a lot of time to gather those people and takes a lot of time to gather those infrastructure and put the cluster in place. Whereas in IBM Cloud, we have automated that entire task, which means the moment you have license, you can quickly go ahead and deploy that particular cluster. Let me walk across another few couple of services that we provide. For example, if you have a whole bunch of data, we spoke about Cloud Pak for data that comes with entire IBM's analytics and machine learning functionality. Now, if I only need few functionality, do I need to buy the Cloud Pak for data software all itself? I may not. So, say for example, I just need to analyze an image. What I would do is I would go to AI and machine learning. I would click on the service, say visual recognition, which is I put a visual to the API, which is maybe a picture or maybe a video or maybe some textbook. I'll put that as an input, and this algorithm will automatically recognize what it is. So say for example, if I want to build an app where the camera will scan a particular image and I want that image to be identified, whether it is in a water bottle, whether it is a book, whether it is a building, whether it is a vehicle, car or bus, I want to identify that. This will help you to identify that, and we provide a light tier here itself. So you can see there is a light tier where 1,000 events per month are provided for free, which means 1,000 API calls in a month we provide for free. We only charge you after you consume 1,000 APIs in a month, and 1,000 APIs means there are 1,000 images you can scan in a month for free without paying anything. Which brings me to a topic of the light tier that we spoke about. Now, how do you access these services with light tier? All you need to do is go to Google, search IBM Cloud free tier and go to the first link that you see, IBM Cloud free tier. So here you can see what are the services that you would get as free, which are listed here. And you can also register for a free account. You can click in here, put in your email address and your details, and you'll be able to create a free account. Once you're able to create a free account and log into the catalog using that free account, you'll be able to see this particular page, and you can filter with a pricing plan of light. So once you select light pricing plan, you'll be able to see what are the free services that are available for you that you can use without paying. All right, let's take an example for containers. So if you want to create a container that you want to try across, you want to put your hands on, you just don't want to pay for it. So you can filter light or free and then go for Kubernetes services. And here select a plan as free, which means you would get a Kubernetes cluster, one single worker node Kubernetes cluster free for 30 days that you can try your hands on and try to do your project, try to learn things about Kubernetes, and you can do it for free. So I would highly recommend you go ahead and sign up for a free account in IBM Cloud and try these services if you are trying to get your hands on and trying to figure out what IBM Cloud offers in terms of what the different cloud services we have. Now with this, we would end the demo and we'd go back to the Q&A, and let's try to answer the question that we have and what questions you are putting across in these two sessions that we covered with Aju and myself.
Thanks, Aju. Thanks, Vibhuti. And I have almost 26 questions. I'll try to summarize and ask it. And the first one related to certifications. So we have audience on a different level, and some are keen on doing certification related on the same path. But if somebody wants to do certification, can you guide us how to do it in the IBM Cloud?
Yeah, sure. So when you talk about certifications, IBM Cloud has multiple levels of certification. There are basic and intermediate ones that anyone can go and give the exams, attend the trainings and give the exams, online exams, and get those certification, which are basics. Like for example, IBM Cloud Essentials, IBM Cloud Basic AI knowledge. Those you can go to Google and search for them and give the online exams after the trainings, and you'll be able to get the badges. Now there are advanced certification, which are of course paid certification. So if you go to let me share my screen back and show you how you can attain those trainings. Like you can simply do a quick Google search, which is IBM Cloud Learn. Now, if you go to the first link that we have, which is IBM Cloud Learning Hub, you'll be able to see a lot of learning that we have added, and you can filter with cloud. Let's say, for example, I go with cloud here, and you would see different basic learnings available and different advanced learnings available. And then there are all topics which talks about what our data centers consists of, what the difference between multiple regions and multiple types of regions. We have single zones, we have multi-zones.
What is the highest level of certification available?
Yeah, so we have 3 different levels of certification. One is, of course, basics, then there is foundation, and then there is solution architect. So foundations and solution architect, these are paid exams. You can attend the learnings online and go give those exams in the Prometric centers by registering for it. But the free basic ones, you don't have to go to the exam center to give the exam. You can get through the study material.
The highest level certification is going to be the system architect in the different level.
Solution. It's a solution architect.
Solution architect in a different level.
Correct.
The next question is how costly is cloud technology? And the same question, part of it is going to be the how safe it's for the financial sector institutions.
Okay, so let me take that, Vibhuti. Both the questions there, right? I tried to briefly explain on how safe it is for the financial sector in my presentation when we discussed about financial services ready cloud. Now, even without financial services ready cloud, cloud in general is a secure environment from a platform standpoint, but the client environment is a joint responsibility of security between the client and the cloud service provider. There are several, irrespective of what cloud platform that you choose, whether it's IBM, Amazon, Google, or Azure, there are several security products that are available on the platform that the client can leverage to make their own environment secure, right? For For example, simple things like, if you are deploying a server, on a public cloud platform, you have, sensitive information that's going to get stored on that particular server. You don't want to point that server onto a public IP, right? So it is kind of a joint responsibility. The platform will be secure, that security will be ensured by the cloud service provider, but it is very incumbent on the client themselves also to adopt two policies to keep their environment safe and secure by their own internal security policies as well. Certainly for financial customers, there are higher level of services that are available, encryptions, higher level of encryptions, data security services that are available on the various public cloud platforms that clients can leverage. Dr. Prasad.
How costly is cloud technology? Is that the first part?
Okay, so the first part, it depends, right? It depends. Generally, one of the use cases that clients adopt cloud is to optimize as well, right? Because, when you look at it from a like-to-like compute standpoint, you may not see much of a difference in terms of cost, right? But when you look at it from an overall total cost of ownership, there is certainly a lot of advanced, technologies embedded in the cloud technology, which you would not be able to typically, deploy an on-prem kind of an environment. For example, automation. For example, cannot be deployed, at the same cost as you would get on a cloud environment as you would want to do it on an on-prem, right? Advanced next-gen technologies like AI, right, and machine learning will cost a lot if you want to deploy it on an on-prem kind of environment. But on the cloud, you will get it at a fraction of the cost, right? So it depends on the type of use case that you are wanting to run on the public cloud environment, Dr. Prasad.
More like Aju, is only the reservation charge is on or the usage as well?
Correct. It is pay per use. It is actually pay per use, right? It is pay as you consume, right? So you don't have to incur the huge amount of setup costs. You don't have to incur the skill cost that you need to maintain that environment. So there are a lot of other things that come into play when it comes to public cloud.
A bare metal server, is it only server level or usage as well in that case as well?
Yeah, so when you buy a bare metal server, you can use that server and you can use that server in an hourly fashion. You can use that server in a monthly fashion. For example, it is available as a service. You are not technically.
Sorry, what is the minimum period for the
1 hour
duration?
1 hour, right? So if you are not buying the server per se, you are buying a service to use that server. So depends on how much time that you want to use it. If you want to use it for 6 hours, you use it for 6 hours and then release the server goes back into the pool. All your data, you need to retrieve.
Will there be a cost? Will there be a cost for upload and download? Or only time?
Yes, there will be costs for ingress and egress charges. Yes, if it is an access through a public internet. For all the internal IBM networks, right? With going from one IBM cloud data center to another IBM cloud data center for doing data transfer or any kind of other application requirements, it is not charged. But if you access the cloud, as in any public cloud, if you access cloud data centers using a public internet, right, and try to download or upload data into public cloud, that is chargeable. There is an ingress charge and there is an egress charge. They are nominal, but yes, they are.
Thanks. Next one, use cases of AI in banking industry and RO.
Okay, so there are several, and these are evolving as we speak, right? And we see some of them in our banking use cases that are being developed on the financial services ready cloud. We have major banks like Bank of America, BNP Paribas onto these financial services clouds. They are using AI in multiple forms. They are using AI in terms of doing AI for their own internal operations. They are using AI to deliver better insights out of all their customer data that they have accumulated over a period of time, right? Now, usage of that data, making sense of that data and monetizing that data for end customers is where AI is making a lot of sense for these large financial services clients, Dr. Prasad, right? And it is in this monetization of data is where the ROI lies. Today it is a lot of unshackled, or let me put it this way, a lot of shackled, source of information that are lying in customer data centers, right? What cloud technology is doing along with AI is unshackling a lot of this data and bringing it across as points of inflection for end customers and enterprises of the banks, Dr. Shah.
The next one is why are local cloud facilities more expensive than overseas facilities?
Yeah, good question. Actually, cloud prices are not consistent across various geographies. There are a lot of local regulations and local instances that play into setting up of a cloud data center. For example, you have to you set up a data center, a cloud data center in Sri Lanka. You'll have to pay for electricity at the local rates. You'll have to pay for the facility at the local rates. There'll be local tax and regulatory levies that you have to pay to the government. So that is why at times you will see in certain locations cloud services are certainly slightly more expensive than in other locations where probably some of those governments may give a whole lot of leeway to cloud service providers. That's why you see a disparity in prices across multiple geographies, Dr. Prasad.
The IBM came up with so many operating systems, and your presentation I saw AIX is also enabled now through the cloud.
Yes.
Is it available even the OS 400? I think even Sri Lanka, a lot of customers still use OS 400. Will they also have a chance to move to cloud, or still not available?
Yeah,
AIX is available, and the OS 400, is it available?
Yeah, so OS 400 as of now it's not available. It is only AIX and I. These are the two OS that we are providing on Power, and we're also providing SUSE Linux on top of Power as well. So these three OS that you can choose from Power VMs that you can select.
Do you have any plan for OS 400 as well?
No, we don't have any plans for OS 400.
Not at the moment, right?
Not
but
at the moment.
not at the moment. But we are looking on how looking at how we are. We do have a large number of OS 400 clients across the globe. Traditional our AS 400 long-time clients, right? We are looking at how we would want to migrate them onto a platform that can leverage public cloud capability. Right? At this point in time, there is no confirmed roadmap that we can tell publicly at this point in time, but yeah, it is something that we may consider in the future.
The next one is, how has the definition of cloud shifted over time?
It is continuously shifting. Very good question. It is actually continuously shifting. It is continuously shifting. Cloud started off as a an enterprise grown product in traditionally based out of customers' own data centers. It evolved into shared services, which gave out concepts like hosted data centers, and a lot of service providers providing hosted data center space and providing private clouds out of hosted data centers, to what it is, it became like a hyperscale environment in which democratization of a lot of hardware and software services were made possible, to what it is today as to becoming a platform of innovation, right? Which is wherein customers are now looking at service oriented outcomes rather than infrastructure oriented outcomes. They're looking at software as a service, they're looking at platform as a service, they're looking at outcomes now out of cloud rather than just pure infrastructure, right? So there has been a journey. It's been an exciting journey, and we believe that this journey will evolve into more and more of AI and machine learning and delivering outcomes rather than just remaining at the infrastructure layer.
The IBM Cloud has a key three things. One is open, other one is a secure, other one is an enterprise focus.
That is right.
How can you support the Sri Lankan businessmen or the businesses using your cloud offerings?
We are very keen to support, Sri Lankan business using our cloud platform, and it is one of the reasons why we are doubling down on our public cloud, open hybrid cloud and AI strategy, right? Because we want it to become more and more relevant for enterprise clients, right? And that you will see in the kind of open architecture that we have created on our public cloud. So today, if you as a Sri Lankan customer have, let's say VMware workloads running in your enterprise, right? And there is a high prevalence of VMware workloads in enterprise customers, right? For you to move on to IBM Public Cloud, you don't have to do any customization. You can simply lift and shift your VMware workload onto IBM Public Cloud. Same is the case with any kind of, containerized or microservices, based application that you have developed on Kubernetes or Red Hat OpenShift, right? We have kept, all these services that we have created on IBM Cloud on an open standard basis, which means that your ability to migrate becomes much easier. It is very cost effective for you to move from destination A to destination B, right? And we would be very happy to engage with the Sri Lankan clients. We've got services like garage services. Part of what you heard in the American Airlines use case, in which we can come and consult with you on how you can move your enterprise applications to cloud and leverage cloud for your transformation and innovation journey.
At the same time, you mentioned about 200 services available in IBM Cloud.
Yes.
So if somebody is doing a very good service or the very good software as a service in the country,
yes,
can they also publish through your cloud? Is there any option available for Sri Lankan businesses?
It's a very good question, right? The way that I would look at it is that there are a lot of independent software vendors that use IBM Cloud as a platform to propagate and develop their products, right? And we have in our financial services cloud, we have some leading ISVs like Infosys with their co-banking application Finacle, right, basing on IBM Public Cloud. It may not be listed, or as a service on IBM Public Cloud, but certainly, it is marketed as a service based on IBM Public Cloud, right? Now, depending on what is the type of service that you provide, depending on how many clients that you can touch, what is the permeability of that service and transparency of that service, all this is evaluated, right? But I would suggest the first place to go is to use the platform, whether on Red Hat OpenShift or on Kubernetes service, to use the platform to develop and create a robust product that you can take to a larger number of end clients. Yes, and there are a lot of additional benefits that we provide. For example, for ISVs, we do have and partners, we do have things like cloud endowment funds, and we have a developer ecosystem which can be leveraged to help you ease your development life cycle, give you additional resources, technical support, etc., to develop on the IBM Public Cloud. Dr. Prasad.
We have another 7 minutes to go. Is there any key areas you all want to add?
Yes, so so I'd like to revisit on some of the points that I mentioned in my presentation. I assume a lot of the audience that are listening to us today are going to adopt some kind of public cloud environment in their journey to transform their own individual enterprises or to develop for enterprises that are transforming, right? And I would again like you to base your journey or your transactions on the principles that we have based on, because it helps you set up a service that will be accessible to a far larger audience in a much more transparent and transparent way, right? Look at developing stuff that is hybrid in nature, look at developing stuff that is open in nature. Use a lot of open standards, whether it is Kubernetes, containers, Red Hat OpenShift, or even Cloud Foundry for that matter, right? Use a lot of security products that are available on the cloud. Be very wary of what services that you're creating and how they are going to impact the enterprises in the long run. Use a lot of multi-cloud capabilities that are available, that are starting to get available on other public clouds as well. For example, Google coming out with Anthos is a great story, right? Again, giving customers a capability to manage multiple clouds using their single pane. Very, similar to what IBM would do with Red Hat in terms of our multi-cloud platform. The only thing is that our multi-cloud platform would not need any proprietary software to run in the multiple cloud instances, right? And also, create a consistent management layer, right? Be very mindful about the kind of management layer that you're creating to deliver that consistency of experience and service for your end customers. Dr. Prasad, that's what I'd like to end with, right?
I think you have to mention a little bit about the Watson capabilities as well. Anybody wants to try, they can try. I think 30 days free trial available.
Yes.
They can do a lot of AI stuff themselves.
Correct. There are two things that you can do. I would encourage all of you who are listening to go create an account onto IBM Public Cloud. Two things that you get. One is you get access to the IBM Cloud platform, and you do get a $200 credit that you can use to use services on IBM Public Cloud, right? That is one. And second is that I'd like to revisit to what Vibhuti showed in his demo, right? Please go and access the free tier that is available on the IBM Public Cloud. Using free tier, you can create a free tier account, right? Or you can use your own account to leverage the free tier. It is very easily identifiable on the platform. You can use analytics products, you can use Watson products, you can use Watson Assistant, Watson Studio, a whole lot of AI, ML, and other even infrastructure services as well. That are available as free tier on the IBM Public Cloud platform. I would encourage each and every listener here to go and create. It takes nothing. You don't have to pay anything to create an account. It may ask for your credit card details, but you never get charged. But unless you are going and using a paid service or using a service beyond the initial $200 of free credit that you get, right? So you have nothing to lose. Please go ahead and create an account and explore the IBM Public Cloud. I would encourage everyone to do that.
Thank you, Ajay. Thank you, Vibhuti. Thank you once again on behalf of the FITIS and the organizing team and your valuable time. I'm sure our audience will get real benefit. And I should say thank you to our attendants as well. And because of their encouragement, we try to do more and more this kind of webinar. And this is, I think, is 29th webinar in this year. And I'm sure we should be able to do further with IBM and with the detail level. Maybe a follow-up sessions as well.
Sure. Extremely happy to be here, and I will be extremely happy to join back again as a follow-up session, right? I thank all the attendees, especially thank you, Dr. Prasad and FITIS, and all the organizers and the sponsors that made this interaction possible. Really happy to have interacted with all of you in making this webinar possible.
Thanks once again, Ajay and Vibhuti. Thank you very much for everybody, including our sponsors and corporate partners. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next sessions.
Bye-bye. Have a good day. Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good day, everyone.